Confronting My Wild Past. The search for my son's father begins, sees Lily embarking on a quest to uncover her child's paternity. Haunted by memories of a wild party, she must confront her past, facing both the charming Alex and her steadfast friend James. What truths will her journey reveal? Chapter 3. Confronting My Wild Past. The search for my son's father begins.
You know how they say that the past has a way of catching up with you? Well, mine was sprinting, and I was just about out of breath. Staring at Sam, his little face so innocent and unaware, I knew I couldn't put it off any longer. The search for his father, for my own peace of mind, it had to begin. I'd spent the last few months in a haze of baby routines, work, and restless thoughts. I kept turning over that night, the party, in my mind. It was like a jigsaw puzzle with half the pieces missing. And the biggest piece, the identity of Sam's father, was the most elusive of all. I decided to start with Alex. I hadn't seen him since the party, and tracking him down felt like trying to catch a shadow. He didn't seem to have any social media presence, and James, well, he clammed up whenever I mentioned Alex's name. It was almost as if he was hiding something, but that couldn't be, right? James, my rock, keeping secrets from me. The thought sent a shiver down my spine. So, I did what any desperate, slightly overwhelmed single mother would do. I turned detective. It started with a few casual questions here and there, a bit of online sleuthing, and some carefully crafted conversations with mutual acquaintances from the party. It was like trying to piece together a picture from a handful of puzzle pieces, each more baffling than the last. And then, one rainy Thursday afternoon, as I was feeding Sam his mashed peas, which he seemed to find more amusing to spit out than eat, I got a lead. A mutual friend mentioned Alex's frequent visits to a local cafe. It wasn't much, but it was something. I must admit, the thought of seeing Alex again sent a flurry of butterflies through my stomach. What would I say? How would I feel? The memories of our brief, intense connection were like embers, long dormant but still glowing. The cafe was one of those bohemian places, with mismatched chairs and a constant hum of conversation. I found him there on a Tuesday, nestled in a corner, his eyes glued to a laptop screen. Seeing him again was like stepping back in time. He looked up as I approached, and for a moment there was a flicker of recognition, then surprise. "Alex?" My voice was steadier than I felt. "Lily." He blinked, and then that slow, charming smile I remembered so well spread across his face. "It's been a while." We talked, or rather, I talked, and he listened. I told him about Sam, about my fears and doubts. He was quiet for a long time after I'd finished, his eyes searching my face as if looking for something he'd lost. "I didn't know," he said finally, his voice low. "Lily, if he's mine, I want to be a part of his life." His words hit me like a wave. Relief, fear, hope. A tangle of emotions I couldn't quite unravel. But as much as I wanted to believe him, to throw myself into the possibility of a little family, doubt lingered. What if he wasn't the father? What if he was? I left the cafe with more questions than answers, my heart a jumbled mess. But I knew one thing for sure. I had to talk to James. He'd been too quiet, too evasive. It was time for some honest conversation. James agreed to meet me at the park the next day, a neutral space where Sam could play while we talked. The autumn air was crisp, the leaves a riot of gold and red. It was beautiful, in a melancholic sort of way. "James," I began, as Sam toddled on the grass, blissfully unaware of the gravity of our conversation. "We need to talk about that night, the party." James looked at me, his expression guarded. Lily, I don't know if that's a good idea. But I pressed on, the words tumbling out. I told him about my conversation with Alex, about my uncertainty and fear. And then I waited, my heart pounding, as James took a deep breath. Lily, there's something you should know. And that's when it happened. A shriek from Sam, a sudden sharp cry of pain. We both turned, our conversation forgotten, as our world narrowed down to the tiny figure on the grass, his face scrunched up in distress. James was there before me, scooping Sam into his arms, his face etched with concern. And in that moment, watching them together, a new question began to form in my mind, a possibility I hadn't allowed myself to consider. As I took Sam from James, comforting him, I knew that our conversation was far from over. But it would have to wait. Right now, my son needed me. The truth about that night, about Sam's father, it was still out there, waiting to be uncovered. But as I looked into James's eyes, I realized that maybe, just maybe, the answer had been in front of me all along. To be continued.